Hey there, this is Jeff Wise, and today I'm here to guide you through gradient and equations of a straight line. And for those who are preparing for their K.C.S.E, that is 844 system, I'm here also to give you support that is in learning and to guide you through so that as you prepare for paper 1 and as you prepare for paper 2, you can be well prepared so that as you sit for your K.C.S.E this year or next year, you can be well prepared. Therefore, today, I want us we look at an interesting topic that is gradient and equations of a straight line. Therefore, we'll begin by asking ourselves, what is gradient? Yeah, what is gradient? And I would like to consider, I want us to consider something here. I want us to consider a Cartesian plane here. That is y-axis and this is x-axis. And allow me to draw a straight line here. And we'll use this straight line to understand what we mean by gradient of a straight line, or how do we find the gradient of a line. Now, I want us to consider 2 points here. There we go. Therefore, here we shall have the value of x2, and here we shall have the value of x1 because this is on y-axis. Therefore, this is where we have the values of y, that is x-axis, and here we also have values of y-axis, values such as 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. The same here we can have 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And therefore, this becomes x-axis, and this is our y-axis. So we can have that is y1 and y2. Therefore, when you find the difference, between x1 and x2, and of course you can see in our case here, x2 is 4, x1 is 1. Therefore, when you do 4 minus 1, we refer to that as change in x. You get? Then here, the values of y, you can see y1, the value of y1 is 2, and the value of y2 definitely is 6. And when you find the difference between y2 minus y1, that is 6 minus 2, we refer to that as change in y. Therefore, how do we find gradient? We normally say that gradient of a straight line is given by change in y over change in x. Now, what is change in y? Change in y is given by y2 minus y1. y2 minus y1. Then, change in x will be given by x2 minus x1. x2 minus x1. That is what will give us the gradient. Therefore, if we wanted to find the gradient of this straight line, gradient will be given by what? What is the change in y? y2 is 6, y1 is 2. That will be given by 6 minus 2. Then, in terms of change in x, that is x2 minus x1, x2 is 4, then x1 is 1. Therefore, it will be 4 minus 1. Therefore, what is the gradient of our line? The gradient of our line will be 6 minus 2, which is 4, and 4 minus 1 is 3. Therefore, 4 over 3, or 1 whole and 1 over 3 is the gradient of this straight line. Therefore, I want you to understand this, that gradient of a straight line is always given by change in y over change in x. I hope up to that point we are together. Are we good? Therefore, if you're given 2 points, yeah, if you're given 2 points, maybe let's say, for example, if you're given 2 points, point A and point B, let's say point A is 12 and 4. Then point B, let's say it's 8 and 2. if you're told to find gradient of these 2 points, yeah, what you do, you'll still say that gradient is given by change in y over change in x. Therefore, from these 2 points, any point has x and y. Therefore, change in y will be given by 4 minus 2. Change in x will be given by 12 minus 8, because this is y1, y2, x1, x2. Therefore, 4 minus 2 will give you 2, and 12 minus 8 will give you 4. Therefore, by 2, 1, by 2, 2. Therefore, you can see that the gradient of point AB, this line AB, is a half. Therefore, given 2 points, you can find the gradient of a point or gradient of a line. Are we there? Now, how do you find the gradient? We're now given an equation, because you can be given an equation and they want you to find the gradient. Therefore, I want us to consider an equation here. Yeah, we can consider this example here, where we are told that find the gradient of the line, and our line is given as 3y. We'll consider 3y is equals to 3x plus 12. That is what I want us to consider. Now, anytime you're given an equation and you want to find gradient from that equation, how do you interpret it? I just want to remind you that you are taught how to write equation of a straight line in form of y is equals to mx plus c. And I hope you still remember, you are told that c is a constant, it's a number like 4, 5, 10, -2, because we refer to it as a constant. Then we have m here, any number that is there is what we refer to as the gradient. Are we together up to that point? Therefore, we have a responsibility to rewrite our equation. That is, our equation 3y is equals to 3x plus 12. We need to rewrite it so that it can be in form of y is equals to mx plus c, where we make y the subject of the formula, and of course the coefficient of y should be 1. But you can see in our equation here, the coefficient of y is 3. Therefore, we will divide here by 3, divide here by 3, and divide here by 3. Therefore, this will give us, when you cancel this, you get y is equals, of course, when you cancel this, you get 1x plus 12 divided by 3 is 4. Therefore, from such an equation, of course, even without writing that 1 there, definitely you can see that the number that is attached to x is definitely a 1, because 1 times x is still x. Therefore, the gradient of our equation here, we have said this is a constant c, and therefore this is the gradient. Therefore, the gradient of our line definitely is equal to 1. Are we together? Therefore, when you write an equation in form of y is equals to mx plus c, the number that is left here may be 2, may be -4, may be 7. That is what we refer to as the gradient of that particular line. Are we together? I think having mentioned that, I should take you through how to form an equation, of a straight line. Yeah? Because sometimes you can be given 2 points and you're required to form that is an equation. Therefore, let us look at that is equation of a line. Equation of a line. Now, we look at an example. And the example I want us to look at is find the equation of a straight line. Find the equation of a straight line through the points, we are given the points there, A, 1, 3, and B, 2, 8. Now consider such a question where you are expected to form an equation of a straight line. Remember step number 1, when you're forming equation of a straight line, number 1, you must have the gradient. Number 2, at least you should have 1 point, so that you can use such to form an equation. Therefore, in step number 1, we have to get the gradient, and we say the gradient is given by change in y over change in x. Therefore, we have our 2 points. Of course, A, it has x and y, and our second point, it has x and y. Therefore, allow this to be x2, y2, y1, x1, so that we can have change in y over change in x. Therefore, change in y will be given by 8 minus 3. 8 minus 3. Then change in x will be given by 2 minus 1. 2 minus 1. And definitely the gradient will be 8 minus 3 is 5. 2 minus 1 is 1. And of course, 5 divided by 1 is what? Is 5. Therefore, the gradient there is 5. Therefore, having the gradient as 5, now we can find the equation of a straight line. Because I've told you, we need the gradient and also 1 point. You can use point A or point B, then the other point to be unknown. Therefore, using gradient as 5, and we can use point A, which is 1, 3, and we can use another unknown point, let us call it xy, so that in the same way we know we find gradient, we'll come and say that gradient is given by change in y over change in x. Our gradient is what? Our gradient is now 5. Now, change in y will be y minus 3, y minus 3. Then change in x will be x minus 1 over x minus 1. Then from there, of course, we can cross multiply. We can cross multiply. So that we find the equation of a straight line. Therefore, this will give us 5 times x minus 1 is equals to y minus 3. Therefore, you open that, this will give us 5x minus 5 is equals to y minus 3. Of course, we need to put like terms together. We bring negative 3 on this side so that it will be 5x minus 5. When negative 3 comes on this side, it becomes plus 3 is equals to y. Therefore, what will be our equation? Y will be given by 5x, negative 5 plus 3 is negative 2. And now that is the equation of our line from point A and B. I hope you get what we've done there. And of course you can see, you remember I told you, when you write your equation in form of y is equal to mx plus c, our c, which is a constant, is negative 2, and of course our m is 5, and the gradient is 5 as we had calculated together. You see, these things, they become easy and easy as we continue. Now, the other thing that you need to understand when it comes to equation of a straight line, you need to understand something about parallel lines and perpendicular lines. I want to wish that you remember, that is perpendicular and parallel lines. Now, what do you remember about perpendicular lines? If you can remember, we stated that perpendicular lines, their gradient. When you multiply their gradient, they give you -1. Therefore, this is what we say, that if you want to know two lines are perpendicular, when you take their gradient, that is m1 times m2, it gives you -1. Therefore, an example here, we want to see, if we can identify if these two lines are perpendicular or not. Therefore, considering the first question here, we are given y is equals to 2x plus 7. We are also given that y is equals to -2x plus 5. Therefore, how do we determine if they are perpendicular? Look at the gradient. What is the gradient here? m1. m1 is 2. What is the gradient here? m2 is -2. Therefore, let's multiply and see if we shall get -1. Therefore, 2 times -2 is -4. Is it giving us -1? No. Therefore, we can say that these lines are not perpendicular. You get? Good. Let's look at a different example. Another example there. We are told, number B, 5y is equals to x plus 5. Then we have another one there, 10y is equals to -2 plus 20. Is it -2? Yes, -2x plus 20. -2x plus 20. Yeah, definitely this one, this one should be like that. Yes, should be like that. Yeah, so that now from equation 1, what is our gradient? Look at this, y is equals to 5x plus 5. Therefore, what is the gradient here? m1 is 5. Very good. What about m2? Now here, we can't conclude that -2 is m2 and the coefficient of y here is 10. Therefore, we have to rewrite this equation in form of y is equals to mx plus c. Therefore, 10y is equals to -2x plus 10. We need to divide by 10, divide by 10, divide by 10, so that y is given by, of course, -2 over 10 is -1 over 5x plus, this was 10, 10 divided by 10 is 1. Therefore, what is the gradient here? The gradient m2 is -1 over 5. Therefore, can we test if they are perpendicular? m1 was 5, m2 is -1 over 5. When you multiply these two, you get -1, because -1 over 5 times 5 and 5 cancels, then you will with -1. Therefore, we can conclude that these two lines, these two equations of a straight line, they are perpendicular. They are perpendicular. You see? Therefore, that's how we determine if equations of lines, they are perpendicular or not. Therefore, you can see this one, they are not perpendicular because when you multiply the gradient, you got -4. Here we are saying they are perpendicular because when you multiply the gradients, you get -1. Now, let me conclude by talking about parallel lines. Parallel lines. How do we know that equations of lines are parallel? Now, I want us to look at examples here. That is what I want us to look at. And how do we know that lines are parallel? This is what we conclude, that when the gradients are equal, that those lines are parallel. So let us look at a few examples here. Let's look at 2 examples so that we can conclude if they are parallel or not. The first one, we have given us that is 2y minus 7x minus 8 is equals to 0. Then we have 4y plus 17 is equals to 14x. Now, the first responsibility here, we need to rewrite these equations in form of y is equals to mx plus c. That is what we need to do so that we can identify what? The gradient. Therefore, the first one, if we want to remain with 2x, we shall remain with 2x on one side. Then we take the rest on the other side. Therefore, negative 7x, when we take it to the other side, it becomes positive 7x. Negative 8, we take it to the other side, it becomes, that is positive 8. Then you divide by 2, divide by 2, divide by 2. Therefore, y will be given by 7 over 2x plus 8 divided by 2 is 4. Therefore, the gradient here, the gradient there, m1 is 7 over 2. You get? Let's go to the second equation. In the second equation, we have 4y plus 17 is equals to 14x. Therefore, we need to take 17 on the other side. When you push 17 on the other side, because it's a positive, it will become 14x minus 17. Then you divide by 4, you divide by 4, you divide by 4. Therefore, y will be given by 2, 2 by 2, 7. It will give us 7 over 2x minus 17 over 4. What is the gradient there? M2. M2 is 7 over 2. You get? Therefore, what is the gradient here? 7 over 2. What is the gradient here? 7 over 2. Therefore, are they parallel? True, they are parallel because we said parallel lines, their gradients are equal. They are equal. Therefore, we can conclude that the lines are parallel. As simple as that. Hope you've learned something in today's lesson, because that is general overview of gradient and equation of a straight line. Therefore, that is it. Have a good day. Let's meet next time. Thank you.